Hey guys, I just thought I would, I've been putting it off for a long time, but I thought I would do just a quick little video review on my experiences with my Scio X7 because it's been just over 2 years now since I got this machine. So one thing I don't think I've said out loud before was that I actually got a deal on this machine. So just over a couple years ago, Scio was doing a bit of a drive to enhance their online presence, basically. So I ended up getting a bit of a deal, a discount for agreeing to post content online. So one very important thing was that there was never any discussion about what that content was going to be comprised of. There was no hints whatsoever about trying to make it seem like I was happy or anything like that. It was just content. They wanted to get content of people using these machines and making things. So now that my AccuBlast, now that I'm trying to get sales up, I can definitely relate to that. People don't want to spend that much money to buy something that they don't see other people using. You want to look up videos and you want to see other people's experiences before you commit to spending even that much money, let alone this much money. So I do understand that, and that's why now the position I'm in, facing the same kind of issues where I don't have a lot of people using them, posting things online. They're a fair bit of money, so people are skeptical. Now that I'm in that position, I relate to where Syil was at when they were doing that bit of a drive. So that's over now, by the way. There's no more discounts for stuff like that. As I'm sure you've noticed, their online presence has been dramatically increased over the past couple of years. So anyway, the machine itself has been really good. It hasn't actually failed me, aside from me crashing it. I've crashed it multiple times now, some bad, some not so bad. And, anytime I've had an issue, Syil, they're very good with their tech support. And to say that, so one very important thing about Syil is, and things are changing, and I know they're trying to get a bit of a network maybe created and deals in place with technicians and stuff like that. But for the most part, the technical support is going to be remote. And for me, I knew that, and I'm okay with that. I haven't had any issues. I've never had to wait probably even 24 hours for an answer, and a good answer from Syil. Mr. Chen is I think their head engineer there, and he's just always been great. Anything I've needed, documentation's light with the mill. You're not going to get wiring diagrams and all that kind of stuff, but when you're in a jam and you need to see something, they're going to send you what you need to see. You're going to get the diagrams. You're going to get pinouts. It's very good that way. But I think where people end up having an issue with Syil is they buy the machine, and I think in a lot of cases it's people's first CNC machine, and they think they've spent a lot of money, when of course in the CNC world they haven't spent like anything compared to some of the bigger brands like Mazak and all that kind of stuff. And they expect that if the machine breaks, they're going to have a technician at their door the next day, and that's not. I don't think that's a realistic expectation, and I know that's not something that is going to happen when you buy one of these machines. I know that in extreme circumstances, I think they have done that and made arrangements for someone to go, take a look. But just from my perspective, if you're the kind of person that you're okay doing some remote guided troubleshooting, or you're good at troubleshooting yourself, you can work with tech support remotely to figure out what's wrong, and they're going to give you, they're going to walk you through how to check things. And then let's say you narrow it down. You know, if the machine's under warranty, they're going to send you parts. You'll have to wait for those parts to show up, but then you'll install them yourself. As long as as long as you're okay with all that kind of stuff, I can't see why you wouldn't be happy with a machine like this. But if your business is going to be, in a state of catastrophe, if your mill goes down, maybe it's probably not the right machine for you. So, I think false expectations is one area where I see that people, are unhappy perhaps after their purchase of a Syil. And then of course there's also, it's an entry-level brand. I'm not a machinist. I've slowly been teaching myself and learning from others. I've got a good friend who's a machinist, stuff like that. It's a huge learning curve. And I also, we see every now and then someone will buy one of these machines, and basically their lack of understanding of how machining works, they're basically projecting that onto Syil. And why doesn't the machine do what they're trying to do? Why can't I put in my 100% G-Wizard feeds and speeds into this stainless steel part on my X7? It's not working. I get chatter. So there's a major learning curve. It's a profession. And I think a lot of us who are buying these kinds of machines, we're not machinists. It's like people like me that you've got a side business and you're making stuff and you're just figuring it out and making it work. And it doesn't take you long to kind of figure out how all that kind of stuff works with feeds and speeds and all that kind of stuff. But in the beginning, you realize the machine, there's a lot happening in the background that you'll have to learn how it all works. And well, I get some chatter on my part, so the machine must be junk, stuff like that. So that's what I've observed with why people, I've seen some people be unhappy with their purchases, but I couldn't be happier. I know there's a bunch of us who bought, this is kind of the original X7 design, and I bought them with a bunch of other guys. And we had some criticisms and some complaints right off the bat. For example, chip management and the coolant tank and a bunch of different things like that. And they listened, and then they came out with a new designed X7 with a new enclosure that took care of a lot of things that we were unhappy about. And so that was good to see. Of course, we didn't benefit from getting all those improvements, but it was good to see that the manufacturer was listening and they wanted to make it better genuinely. And now, of course, if you're going to buy one of these machines, it's the X7-20, I think they call it. And it's a whole different animal. It's epoxy granite, and it's, it's way better. It's obviously a way better machine than this one. And in saying that, this one has been perfectly good for me. So I'm just going to go grab some parts. This is why I wanted to make this video. Hold on. I just finished making a bunch of my case halves for the AccuBlast, and I hammered out 12 sets of these, but had zero issues. Every part was exactly within tolerance, and everything was perfect, and it went really easily. And it made me think, like, that's just what my experience has been with this machine is. The only time it's let me down has been when it's been my fault. It reminded me that I needed to do a bit of a follow-up video of how this machine's been working for me. So there are things that I wish were better on this machine, but most of those have been rectified in the newest version. I know now one of my big limitations is chip management. So I could, some of these parts, I've got it stabilized enough that I could load up a giant pallet of these and let it run for like 4, 5, 6 hours overnight. But my major issue is I can't, because I'll end up having chip issues, and the coolant will get blocked from returning back to the tank, and then my coolant stream will stop, and then I'll probably break tools and all sorts of stuff. So, unfortunately, that's a bit of I've got some workarounds that I'm thinking about, like stuff to tie into the AccuBlast, where I've got, maybe during tool changes, it's flushing the enclosure because I've got very limited coolant supply. But anyway, that's one of my things. Of course, I wish it was bigger, and now I wish it was faster. But I think that's just what happens. You get the mill that you can afford, perhaps. Which this was really stretching my budget at the time, especially going with the Siemens. And I think that's what you do, is you kind of stretch it a bit comfortably, and then you hope to be in a position one day where you're going to outgrow it. And I'm not there yet. Like I'm there where I could use more machine, but financially I'm not there yet. So, but things are picking up. The AccuBlast is starting to become a little bit more consistent. I'm enhancing integrations, so there more and more people are going to be able to buy it and install it on the machine and have it work automatically and things like that. So I see that in the future there's a potential where, the business is going to take off, and maybe I will be shopping for bigger, better machines. And I mean, honestly, another Syil would be in the running for when I am looking to upgrade. Even the new X7 is an upgrade from this, but I think I'll want a slightly bigger machine. So anyway, as far as issues, like I said, I've crashed it. Siemens has been great. I'm really glad I went with that controller. I couldn't recommend it enough. The documentation is just out of this world. Like, I don't know how many manuals there are for this thing, but it's unfathomable. It would fill a bookcase. And in addition to that support, I had the opportunity of using their support because I crashed the machine super hard recently, and the tool was stuck in the part basically, and I couldn't retract the head. The spindle was alarming out because it was no longer aligned when everything was restarting. So I had to figure out how to clear those access enable flags in the control in order to be able to lift up in Z to get the tool out of the part. So anyway, I gave Siemens a call, like a phone call, Siemens Canada. Someone answered the phone. They took down my information, and honestly, like within an hour, I had a technician call me from Georgia, I think it was, and they were prepared to walk me through a bunch of stuff to clear some flags. We were actually going to put it into like simulation mode, so that it wasn't looking for the actual flags from the drives, and then he was gonna help me get the head to move and get the spindle reoriented. But the funny thing was, I'm on the phone with the technician, walk out here, start it for like the 5th time, and then it actually was just fine. The flags had cleared, and I was able to retract Z. So, but even after that, he wanted to keep the support case open in case something popped up, and so he kept it open for a week, and then contacted me if we could close it. So anyway, my experience was amazing. I know that someone else in Canada had a screen die, and there's more to it. Like, I think there may have been some power issues that contributed to the death of that screen. But, according to them, they were forced to pay for a new screen outright, then send theirs back, and then once they confirmed it, then I think that you would then get the refund for the one you bought. That doesn't sound super great to me. I don't want to fork out 10 grand for the HMI and then send it back and then wait for a refund, or maybe some weird thing happened and you don't get a refund. Apparently it wasn't an issue just to send it in first and get them to look into it. So that, to me, that all sounds weird, but that's the story that's out there. I've never had to do any of that yet, thankfully. But other than that, I mean, everything's been good. I kind of like that this machine is a little bit generic. It's high wind rails. Spindle is out of Taiwan from a fairly large company. obviously Siemens Electronics, Delta VFD. You know, if the manufacturer, as these things get older, you know, the manufacturer has a little bit harder time supporting you. But if you can go like direct to Highwind for rails, or direct to this other company for spindles, Siemens for the electronics, I mean, I honestly feel like that's a bit of an advantage, especially like when they're universal parts. You know, those Highwind rails you can probably buy. I drawn a blank on the like HSK and stuff. You know, they're industry standard sizes, right? So, you know, I think just it for long-term serviceability, I think there's a lot of advantages when it's not all super proprietary. Now, having said that, some of the high-end machines, they're super proprietary because that's how they make them do the amazing things that they do. This one, it's an 808D advanced, so it's got the absolute encoders, and I had it laser interferometer calibrated at the factory. And honestly, you know, I can jog around, you know, 1 micron at a time. Like one of the most amazing things was I was using a 10 millimeter Mitutoyo gauge block, and I was setting the height of the master tool, which is just a broken carbide end mill shank, and it blew my mind. So I was in 1 micron jog, and you know, if I went 1 micron up, the block slid completely through, and then if I went 1 micron down, it absolutely would not go under, no matter how hard you tried. And maybe that's not amazing to everyone else, but to me that's quite amazing that the machine can move that reliably in that small of an increment. You know, I do find that quite amazing. So accuracy wise, I've had no issues. I got the Pioneer TTC 200 3D tool setter, and that's been really good. Very happy with that, setting diameters and all that kind of stuff. I've got it worked out pretty well. I've got the Drewtronics wireless probe, which I've been very happy with, but I had to write my own macros and post-processor edits to actually be able to use that in Fusion. And it's working very well, though. It's working so well that, you know, I've got in my Drewtronics receiver, there's an LED that's kind of burnt out. So he sent me a new receiver, but I don't want to touch anything because it's just working so perfectly that I don't want to mess with it. So I'm really happy with that. I put M-Lock, you probably can't see them, but M-Lock 125 slim vices in it. And again, I couldn't be happier with that. I think that was a good decision, and they're a perfect fit for this machine. And they're super modular, so I can convert it just to basically a pallet base. You know, it's like 5 minutes. I think I got a video. I made a video for Alex over at M-Lock showing me switching from dual vices to a pallet, and it's like 4 or 5 minutes of work, and everything's dialed in and set. So you know, that's worked out well. So that's kind of it. Like I said, I mean, I would totally recommend buying one of these, as long as it was the right fit for you. I'm not sure if Syil will be happy with the way that I'm saying that, but that's how I feel. And you know, I think it's important that people understand the expectations, so that everyone's on the same page when you're going into something like this. And you know, I think they are trying to grow that support network, but that can't happen overnight. I mean, to be in a position like Haas is, where, you know, there's like technicians everywhere, that will take a really long time. No matter how hard they tried, that would take a really long time to get that figured out all over the world. So yeah, it is what it is. The machine's been super reliable for me. Same with the other people I know. I know there's been like some spindle issues in the past, or somewhat recently or whatever, but you know, there's a batch of bad spindles, and to my knowledge, they sent new spindles out. Some people were very unpleased that they would have had to change the spindle themselves, but from what I understand, it's not a difficult process at all. It's not like yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't believe it's all that difficult. So yeah, if you're okay with the possibility you have to work on the machine yourself and you have to help with some of the troubleshooting because someone's not going to show up to your site. I don't think you can go wrong. But if you're at that stage in your business where you're relying on the machine, and if it goes down, your business is in jeopardy. You probably want to pick a machine that has a more mature support network. But of course, that's going to cost you way more money. So I think it's all about finding the right balance for you and where you're at and financially and what your business is doing. Like mine, the pressure in my side business is basically all just from me. People are generally happy to wait for me to finish things, and I'm the one who puts pressure on to try and get stuff out the door and things like that. But other businesses, you can lose a lot of business by not having things on time. And I should clarify, I really want everything to be on time, and I strive for that. But in reality, that's difficult. I've got kids, I've got a day job. This is a side business. It's a balance. I can't just devote 100% of my energy to making all this stuff work. So I do. That's what I strive for. But in reality, it is sometimes difficult for me to achieve. So yeah, that's my thoughts. And I know I've got another video where I've got initial thoughts, like, 2 weeks or a month or something into it. And there's always lots of comments about people wanting me to do a follow-up. And although, this machine, you can't go buy this machine anymore, the latest one is far different. I think, I would imagine that my perspective and my thoughts would still be useful to people, even though the machine is quite a bit different. So I think I'll call that good and have a look at this. I'm not going to be doing editing. It's just, it is what it is. I think the camera's roughly pointed in a good place, but I'll find out. So if I'm like way off in the bottom corner somewhere, that's just the way it's going to be, because taking this much time out of my day isn't super easy lately. So anyway, hope everyone's doing all right, and I hope this is useful to you. And yeah, I'll should be getting back in the shop and maybe posting a bit more content and stuff, mostly to Instagram, the Insta Machinist community, and a little bit to Facebook and the Syil group. So yeah, I'll probably see you guys later. Bye.